talk of Sioux Falls, 1140 KSOO.
3:34 here on the Talk of Sioux Falls, 1140 KSOO. Coming up in the second hour, disgruntled former city commissioner Matt Staub. You're going to want to tune in for that. Catch up on what Matt's been doing and get his take on city government and the world, which should scare everybody. But right now, we have my weird friend, the Common Man, and this is where we invite my group of associates in to sort of soothe my soul and help me through the day. Mr. Common, thank you for being on the show today. This is well-timed.
Yeah, Patrick. Jeez whiz.
Well, you know me. I get a little worked up.
He does, you've been known to get a little worked up, but, I like to think of this segment as proof that you have friends in low places.
That's always been true, even before the song, which leads us right into Garth Mania, Garth Brooks' song, Friends in Low Places. It's a strange thing going on, Common. From your perch, in your Barco Lounger, what do you make of this whole Garth Brooks thing?
Well, it's really it's amazing, isn't it? When you think about 70,000 tickets sold,
I know,
for 7 shows, and it's you think about Garth Brooks as he's the biggest selling solo artist domestically, U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger than Elvis,
mm-hmm.
less than the Beatles, but as far as a solo artist goes, in the U.S. sales, that's amazing.
I know, particularly because name a new song. You know what I'm saying? I know he has them, but he's still riding the wave of his old image, right?
Yeah, and can you imagine the productivity in Sioux Falls at 10 a.m. last Friday?
Not good.
I'm just thinking around if you walked around through the old shop,
yep.
In most places it was, cricket, cricket, cricket.
Yeah,
cricket.
Everybody's staring at their screens, pushing the button, refresh.
Oh, it's definitely good to be Garth, but it just shows you, how advantageous it is to be a solo act,
yep.
And to have your act together.
Yeah, say what you will about him, and we say a lot here. He's pretty efficient. He knows what he's doing.
Right, and he doesn't have the baggage that so many artists and musicians have. If you're a solo act,
mm-hmm.
You can pretty much call your own shots as long as you're still successful. I mean, if you want to go on tour, you don't need to get Keith out of rehab.
Right.
You don't need to have your drummer learn how to play with one arm.
That's a little bit of an obscure reference, but yeah, keep going.
And you don't need Yoko to stop interfering. I mean, it's just basically Garth comes and he says, you know what? Those were good people back in Sioux Falls. Sell as many shows as you want. I'll show up. And dadgummit, this time I'm bringing the missus.
That's right. We're going to make a vacation out of it. I hear it's a nice place.
Oh, heck, we're going to go down and have lunch somewhere. It's a beautiful thing. But also what it kind of tells you is the power of touring, though, isn't it, Pat?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Today
you
is
think
a different
about
world.
it, it's just that you can go out there and just all those seats that were sold
mm-hmm.
for this show
mm-hmm.
were basically sold in 1997.
Right.
When he came to our little tipped-over beer can of an arena and played several shows, he couldn't have been any hotter there.
No, that was big.
And for him to do that, and actually do it a couple times, because the demand was so great.
Yeah.
Everybody, ever since then, has always said to me when they talk about music shows, well, if Garth Brooks ever comes back, I don't care what I got to do. I'm going to buy a ticket. I'm buying a ticket.
I don't care how much they are.
They're not
that expensive
either. Because I love Garth Brooks.
It's a hell of a show.
And he loves Sioux Falls, and all that stuff. It's just fantastic, and something an artist nowadays could really learn from, because it's really about going out to those places, and maybe a couple places that are off the grid.
Yeah,
that those people will appreciate you and remember you and buy your stuff forever.
Yeah, that's true, and you'll see the same T-shirt for 20 years. Common, you and I also talk a lot about just Sioux Falls in general, speaking of Garth and this sort of the ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different place than we grew up in, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I always think of it, that's amazing now that Sioux Falls has kind of gotten big enough. We sort of have snooty sides now.
Yeah, that's right.
it's great. You know, I was over in a store. I won't say which one or where it was, but I was in a store on the west side, and I met and passed along to the person who was helping me that I was from the east side. And she rolled her eyes, and she made a face like she took a bite out of a skunk. And I was like, well, wow. She goes, well, I don't like the east side.
Oh.
I'm like, well, it's like 2 miles away. I mean,
It's not that far, dude.
so it got me curious, and I wanted to ask you, Pat, as far as big cities have sides, you know, north and south side Chicago, east, west, south Boston, that sort of thing. If you had to draw a geographic or cultural philosophical line in Sioux Falls, would it be north, south, east, west? Which direction would you go?
You know, when I was a kid, like I said, you know, you and I, we were up on the north end, and we talked about Southsiders as that was a division, right? There wasn't this east-west thing didn't really exist. So I think actually it's even more than like east-west is real. People on the east side, they're like, I don't even know what's over there. Do they have stores? I don't understand. And people on the west side just think everybody on the east side is like snooty. But, you know, you still have this north. I think it's kind of it's more of a Balkan situation now than an actual hard lines, you know, like some sort of Eastern European map where there's all these different parts of town. But it's real, man. It's real.
Well, that's the mojo, I think, too. It's sort of like Europe in the States.
Yeah.
You know, east, or you know, I would say that the east side is kind of the established. You know, we've got culture. You know, where there's some buildings that are more than 10 years old, that sort of thing. All the old part about Sioux Falls, the good hardwood, is on the east side. West is, you know, subdivisions, frozen yogurt. Great, brand new, shiny, awesome, but completely different. And so it's sort of a cultural old world, new world kind of thing.
Yeah. I heard someone talk about the east side as being preferred because you're not a squinter. Because if you're from the west side, you always have to squint going into the sun, going to downtown from the west side, and then you have to squint on the way home. You're a squinter from the west side.
That's a good one.
That's a great perspective, yeah.
When we were a little older than children, a friend of mine coined the east side as the cheating side of town. And that's always stuck with me, you know, but he was talking about more just across the river. That was the east side, not on the outside of the interstate belt. So that's the way I always think of that near east side, is the cheating side of town.
So if you were going to draw, what would your line be, Pat? Where, if you're going to say this is east and west, and this is where the great line to draw between those two regions would be, what street would you put it at?
Well, I use the interstate, the 229, 90, 29 circle. I think that's become like the new boundary for these things, because people who live in the old part of the city but live on the west side of it don't consider themselves west siders. You know what I'm saying? They consider themselves, you know, city people. So I think it's wherever you are, wherever you put yourself, it's on the inside or the outside of the belt.
Absolutely, yeah. It's, you know, maybe you can make I was thinking like Western Avenue, maybe just because it sounds kind of nice and tight.
Yeah. Well, if you were doing that, if you're trying to like make it into an XY situation, I think I would actually go with Minnesota and probably 26th Street, even though it doesn't go all the way through. That's what I would say. That's my official statement on that. You can write that one down.
This is in the platform.
Yep, that's exactly it.
The Lalley, when they put up the wall.
Yeah.
This is where Pat will have it.
Hey, we're not going to get time to talk about our favorite pitcher, Bartolo Colon, but we'll come back to that.
Should we go to the joke?
Yeah. Let's go. Tell me a joke, Johnny.
Okay, here's the joke for the day, and it's timely. So, the terrorists capture Billy Ray Cyrus and Garth Brooks, and they're going to put them to death. And this terrorist goes up to Billy Ray Cyrus and says, "You have one wish before you die." And Billy Ray says, "Well, I guess if I only have one wish, I'd like to sing Achy Breaky Heart just one more time." And the terrorist looks over at Garth Brooks and says, "Very well. Now, what is your wish?" And Garth looks at him and says, "Shoot me first."
That's good. I like it. That's the common man.
Dan, doggone it.
That's the common man nearly every Wednesday with us. Thanks for coming in, Johnny.
Always a pleasure, Patrick.
We will be up next here with Jeff Harkness, who is with B102.7, and we're going to talk about baseball. Little Twins, but a lot of baseball, and we'll touch on Bartolo Colon. That is all coming up on the Patrick Lalley Show on 1140 KSOO.